everyone. My name is Shelby Stutz, and I am the gallery curator at the Walter E. Terhune Art Gallery at Owens Community College. Before we start our live stream, I wanted to check and see if everyone can hear me okay. So if someone could type in the chat and say, give me a thumbs up or okay, that would be wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mia. Thank you, Jeremy. Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Kelsey. Hello, everyone. This is great. I appreciate all this participation we're having tonight. So tonight we are actually premiering the Big Read exhibit titled Hiding in Plain Sight, Poverty. And this is a wonderful exhibit that we have where we're featuring local artists, and we're doing it in conjunction with our Big Read events. And we have a lot planned for that will be going on with this exhibit. And essentially the theme is to address the issue of poverty in Northwest Ohio. We want to have conversations, talk to people what's going on, and see what we can do, what actions we can take to help the movement to end poverty. So tonight we have a few special guests that we will be having during the live stream. And actually coming up right now, we will have our Director of Library Services, Jane Berger, and Jen Hazel, one of our English professors, who are going to say a few words about our Big Read event and all that is going on with it.
Thank you, Shelby. We are so happy and so fortunate that you have invited us here for the opening of this great gallery and partnering with us and these talented artists. I also want to thank Jen Hazel and the Humanities Department here at Owens for partnering with us, as well as our several community partners of Toledo-Lucas County Public Library, Wood County Public Library, Wake Public Library, and Finley Hancock Public Library, all of whom are supporting us and offering virtual reads in their book clubs. We have so many events that we have planned, and we're so excited that they're finally coming to fruition. And Jen Hazel is here to tell you a little bit more about some of the specifics of our events that we have planned around our Big Read, Heartland, a memoir of working hard and being broke in the richest country on earth by Sarah Smarsh.
All right, so the first event got underway today, which we're so excited about, being here in the gallery. Thank you so much, Shelby. Coming up this week, we're going to have a virtual book club on Monday. We'll have a showing of the film Parasite, which is also going to look at poverty across the world, and a Q&A that evening with one of our professors from the Humanities Department. And then in March, we'll also be having another virtual book club. And then we'll have a speaker, Sheena Barnes, who is an OCC alumni, talking about poverty with faculty and staff. And then in April, we'll have another virtual book club, and we will cap up everything with an author visit. So Sarah Smarsh will be here in April on the 28th. We're super, super excited about that. So thank you so much. We hope that you participate with we're glad that you're here this evening and you participate with many other of the events that we have upcoming. And don't forget, if you're interested in taking classes in humanities or anything else that Owens offers, registration begins March 8th.
And one note also, all of the information that Jen just shared with you can be found on a website. We have our own website for the Big Read. We're very excited about that. And that will be up on the screen. But it is, and I'm going to look at my notes so I don't miss, www.owens.edu/humanities/read/. So please tune in to see what our events are. All of the Zoom links will be on our website, and enjoy. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jane and Jen. It's so strange having these switching, moving parts, but I'm so glad they could be here. I'm so glad they could talk about all the events we have going on campus. So again, this is for staff, faculty, students, the community at large. Everyone can get involved with these events. And I also wanted to mention, not only do we have an exhibit on the Toledo campus behind me here, we also have an exhibit at the Finley Area Campus Library. They have a beautiful little exhibition space, and we will be scheduling appointments for you to attend there as well. Monica Mason is the head librarian there, so you will see her and you can, she'll be able to talk to you about the exhibit. We do have a premiere video for that exhibit. We will be posting it after the live stream, so you can see Monica, see her face, and see the artwork that we have on the exhibit there. And again, so tonight, we also have one of our featured artists that will be giving an artist talk. Beth Jensen is one of the 6 artists for this exhibit, and she has some really beautiful artwork that we have on display here, and she'll be talking about her experience with reading the book, how it relates to her and her artwork. And we will be opening a chat session so you can ask questions. What I would do is if I could please ask everyone to wait to ask questions to the end of her artist talk, and then we will address them from there.
Hi everyone, my name is Beth Johnson, and I'm an artist here in Northwest Ohio. And I'm so excited to be in an actual gallery. You know, so many shows this year have been virtual shows online, and it's great to be in the physical space and in the gallery. So thank you, Shelby, for this opportunity. I wanted to, I'm going to share some of my work with you in a few minutes, but I want to just talk a little bit about my experience in reading the book. When I heard about the project and the show, I was thinking, you know, poverty in America, how does my work, you know, relate to that? And so I thought, you know, the first thing I wanted to do was read the book. So I picked up the book, well, I picked up the audio book at the library, and I love to listen to audiobooks because I can do other things. And often with books like Sarah's, they are read by the author, which she did the reading of the book and the audiobook. So that was great. You always get a different perspective when the person that wrote the book actually reads it. And so going into the reading, I didn't realize, you know, when I thought about poverty, the first thing that came to mind for me was urban, you know, and I didn't know how I could relate to that or any of my work would relate to that. And so I started reading the book and realized that, you know, she was in Kansas, she grew up in Kansas, and she was very descriptive in talking about the landscape there, you know, the fields for miles and miles and the flat land and the wind. And I'm like thinking, and this sounds just a lot like our landscape here in Northwest Ohio. And I'm primarily a landscape artist, so the landscape is what I paint. And I started thinking about my work and how it related to her story. And she talks about, I started seeing a lot of parallels between her life and my life. She talks about when she's young and just the fact that she grew up on a farm, her grandfather's farm. My grandfather was a farmer, my dad's father. And he was one of 10 children who worked on the farm. And of course, he always hoped that one or more of his sons or daughters would be interested in taking over the farm. But strangely enough, there were 5 boys and 5 girls. The 5 boys all became barbers, and the 5 girls became beauticians. So we had a lot of hairdressers in our family. My dad and mother married very young, and they were fortunate enough to have my grandparents give them a half an acre of land next to the house they had built. So they were able to build their own house, and my dad had a small brick barber shop in Portage, Ohio, just south of Bowling Green. And very quickly, within 6 years, they had 4 kids. So I was the oldest, the first one. And you know, my mother never worked till I was 15. And in looking back, you know, I'm sure that we definitely fell in what Sarah's concept of poverty is. I mean, we always had, you know, being from a farm family, my father, you know, he always made sure there was plenty of good food and meat and everything on the table. We always had plenty to eat. You know, my mother made my clothing till I was a teenager and went out and got a job waitressing so I could buy what I wanted. And, you know, we went to Catholic school, similar to Sarah. She was raised Catholic also. And, you know, we made our own fun. We lived in the country. There wasn't anybody else there. We played with each other. We didn't wear shoes. We, you know, got sunburned till, you know, my grandma called, we turned into brown as berries. And, you know, we thought that was the great life, you know. When we were a little bit older and we wanted to go on a vacation, you know, my dad said, well, you know, vacations cost a lot of money. How are we going to go on vacation? We got to think about this. Well, we had a very large garden. We had a half-acre garden. So we sold vegetables at a stand after school out by the road. And we did our homework out there and took turns selling vegetables. And then we trapped muskrats. And since my dad was a barber and knew all the farmers, he could get us all the good ditches to trap. And my brothers made box traps to put in the ditches. And we trapped muskrats. And our crowning achievement was one year we got 600 muskrats and we sold them for $2 a piece. And we were able to go to Cedar Point for 5 days and spend 4 nights at the hotel there. So that was like the big excitement of our life, you know? So, I mean, but looking back, and I know Sarah, in one point in the book, she comments that I'm grateful for my early life and I wouldn't wish it on any child. And looking back, I mean, I almost felt offended by that because it's like, I look back and I think, in fact, my husband and I say to each other, you know, we were born at the right time because we were able to be raised in this freedom of being able to just run as we pleased and do what we wanted. And, you know, there was nobody checking into us. We didn't have activities scheduled for us that we had to go do. You know, we made our own fun. There was, you know, only a couple channels on the television, you know, so I think that it's all a matter of perspective, you know. When I was in high school, I knew I wanted to go into art. I was interested in art and I drew and painted from when I was a child. And I knew I was interested in art, but when I was in high school, I thought, I want to become a graphic designer, and I'm going to go to New York City, and I'm going to live in a penthouse, and I'm going to work for a big advertising agency. That was my goal. So when I got out of high school and started college and started to explore my interests in the arts, I tried everything from glass blowing to jewelry making, print making, painting, and I fell in love with painting, particularly oil painting. And in fact, in high school, my first oil painting ever, when I did it in high school, they put it in the little case outside the art room, and a teacher bought it. And, you know, so it was very rewarding. And I've always been drawn to the landscape. You know, I dabbled in abstracts and some still lifes and things like that. But the landscape of Northwest Ohio has always interested me. And I've traveled and painted other places, and those just don't have the same allure for me. And I'm just going to reference some of my work now. In fact, so I picked up the actual book, Sarah's book, and I think there's a variety of covers because I see the one in your pictures have a different cover. But the version I picked up at the library, so I could actually just go back and reference a few things. If you can see it, it has this picture of the Kansas landscape on it, and it's a country road with fields on both sides, and it's flat, and you can see forever. And this painting was already here in the gallery, and this is a watercolor that I did quite a few years ago, actually. And it's a country road with fields on both sides, and there's a deer, if you can see it, in the middle of the road. And this was a road that I traveled. My first real job out of college was I taught high school art at a small Catholic school, country Catholic school. And so this was my road I drove on every day. And so I kind of did this. This was a painting from memory of just driving that road every day. And I just want to share with you, I've renamed some of my paintings based on different perspective. So my original title for this painting was Deer Crossing. But you could look at it a different way, because, you know, what happens and what do you see all the time in the country? My second title for this show is Roadkill, because very likely that could be the end for this beautiful deer. And we've certainly seen a lot of them this year, I know. So I like to also, my favorite kind of painting, outdoor painting, is plein air painting, which is where you're actually painting outside. You've got your paints with you. And these two paintings here were started, I usually start my paintings outside, and then depending, especially something large as this, you know, I'm not going to get that finished in one session, because, you know, the light changes over the time period. You're only going to have the same light for a couple hours. So, you know, you're going to want to complete as much as you can in 3 to 4 hours. So this painting, I was actually doing this painting, and when I was out painting, my mother had called me on the phone and told me that my dad, they had to rush him to the hospital. They didn't know what was wrong. An ambulance had came, and could I come, you know? So I packed everything up and I left. And I didn't get back for quite a while to this painting. And he ended up being okay at that time. But when I finished this painting in the studio, I had decided that I wanted to just remember what happened when I was painting it. And so I put a tree that's, the branch has broken and fallen, and it's kind of in the shape of a cross. And then you can see that same reflection in the water down here, just to, the story behind that. And of course, nobody else would probably even notice that or even think about it, but that's kind of the story behind that. And I named the painting If a Tree Falls, because of the tree falling back here. But then for this show, I've retitled it Borrow Pit Number 2, because I did a whole series of these paintings. And this is actually if you're not familiar with what a borrow pit is, a borrow pit, if you go on the overpasses on I-75, you're gonna see big ponds by the overpass. And that's where they borrowed the dirt from the ground and to build the overpass. And so those filled with water, and they're borrow pits. So they're just these, a lot of times they don't even, nobody lives around there. They're just sitting by the side of the road. So that's a borrow pit. And that's just a kind of, and I've had people that have bought my borrow pit paintings. They don't know that they're borrow pit paintings. Now they probably will find out if they're watching, but that have said, oh, this reminds me, of a lake that I visited when we were on vacation in Minnesota. Or I had one person say that it reminded me of a place they visited when they were in France. So it's really all a matter of perspective. You can see beauty anywhere. If you look for it, there's always beauty in the landscape there, even, no matter how flat it is or how dead the trees are in the wintertime, and now they're all beautiful and sparkly from the ice and the snow. So it's just a matter of perspective. This piece is titled Day into Night, and you can see the barn here, once again, the flat landscape with the field, the little tree line. And what I was trying to capture here is, sometimes when I get up in the morning, I look out the window and there's this beautiful sunrise, and same thing at sunset, and you can just see it for miles, And so I painted the actual barn and land outside, but then this is kind of an invented landscape of where it would go. Like if you know how they do the time lapse and it speeds through the day and you've got the sunrise and the sunset, and I was trying to capture both in one piece. And the thing I really, really enjoy about painting outdoors, about plein air painting, and I haven't experienced this in other types. I also do encaustic painting, which is a mixture of wax and oil paint. And you're actually, instead of squeezing paint out on a palette, and painting with a brush like that, you're actually painting on a 200-degree, mine's aluminum palette. And so it's blocks of paint mixed with beeswax, and I'm melting those. And then as you apply them to your surface, they dry pretty quickly because it's wax based. And it's not like an oil painting that has to wait for, months potentially to get dry. It dries right away. And then you have to fuse each layer with a heat gun. It's very process oriented and it's very fun, but it's a lot different than painting outdoors. And the thing that really is so different, and it's hard to describe, but sometimes when I'm painting outdoors, it's almost like, depending on what the light is, with the sunshine perhaps, or the lighting, I can't necessarily see very well what I'm painting on the canvas. And I'm looking out at my scene that I'm trying to capture, and I'm painting. And sometimes I really don't know what that looks like till I get it back home. And that's kind of exciting, but it's an experience of being kind of absorbed in what's in front of you, and then just seeing what turns out when you get it on the canvas. So I really enjoy that too. And I do teach plein air classes, and I teach encaustic painting classes. And actually, I'm going to be here at Owens this summer. I'm going to be the artist in residence, the first artist in residence. Hope it's okay if I say that. And we're going to be I'm going to be sharing my encaustic painting class here at the Owens College. And it'll be so much fun. Everybody gets their own palette and plays with all the materials, and you can do so many things with encaustic, because you can do collage work. If you work in printmaking, you can use it in printmaking, photography, collage. All different kinds of techniques can really be brought in and used with the encaustic technique. So that's a lot of fun. I'm off the subject a little bit. And I did want to share with you, my daughter, she came with me tonight, and she was telling me she's the manager of the Starbucks on Route 20 in Perrysburg. And she was telling me that they are accepting donations at their store for Equality Toledo, and they're accepting donations of toiletry items and non-perishable food. And so if you're in that area, or if you want to stop in and get your Starbucks fix, just bring some things from home and drop them off to help people out quickly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Beth. We truly appreciate you giving your artist talk about your pieces. It's always so wonderful to hear from the artists themselves, what inspired them, what they do. And I wanted to open the chat for if there's any questions. Anyone has any questions for Beth about her artwork, or about her stories, or what she does for her artwork and what she teaches. And we'll wait a little bit for people to put into the chat. And I'll actually start with a question if you'd like, Beth. So I noticed, I was reading your artist statement, and you said that you are a first generation college student for your family, right?
Yeah.
So you were a waitress, and you worked at a plastics factory to get yourself into college.
Mm-hmm.
And here at Owens, we actually have a lot of students that are first generation.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask, how did that feel for you? How was that experience? What encouraged you to get to that point to say, I'm going to do this and make this happen?
Well, I think, like I said, I always knew I wanted to go to college, because I wanted to live in that penthouse in New York.
Right. Right.
But, and I have, as I said, my big family on my dad's side. So I have like 60 some cousins, and I think there's only really a handful of us that went to college. So it was, it was very gratifying to be able to do that. I know my parents were proud of me, and I had 2 of my 4 siblings also went to college and graduated, and pretty much all of our kids have either graduated from college or are in college now, or will go to college. There's a couple of young ones yet. But I think that it's interesting, because looking back, I feel like I felt like I needed to go to college in order to learn, of course, what I wanted to learn, my skill, my trade. And unfortunately, the one thing in art that I felt was lacking then, and may still be lacking now, because my daughter, of course, she went to art school too, and is the business aspect of art. And you learn the techniques, and you learn your trade, and you perfect that, but the actual business side of it, I think, is still lacking, which we don't want to be starving artists.
Right, yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think that that still could use some improvement, and maybe just as part of the art, specifically to the art program, because marketing, it's all about marketing now.
Yes.
Marketing yourself, and that's hard work.
Oh my gosh. Oh yes. It is hard, and it's hard work, and you have to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to speak and do all this. So I totally understand.
Yeah, it's really almost, maybe not half of the work, but it's probably 40% of the work, really.
Yes.
And you think, oh, I just want to paint. But
right.
You can't just lock yourself up and paint. You have to.
Right, exactly. Definitely. Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see. Oh, wonderful. Jen made a comment. She said, thank you for sharing your life with us. Sarah's book resonates with so much of us in Northwest Ohio. And I think that's a wonderful comment, because it's so true. As soon as I was reading your statement, and it said, oh my gosh, this Northwest Ohio road looks like a road in Kansas, and to have that picture on the book as well is so interesting. And I feel like that is one thing, when I've been telling people about this book, is you can relate so much. And I'm assuming you would say the same thing. Do
No,
you?
I was surprised at
Yeah.
how much it was relatable. But I guess, my thoughts on it are, like I said, I would have never ever said, oh, I lived in poverty or I felt impoverished, Um, and I don't think that perhaps Sarah did either until she went to college and learned more. She did that research and found out what poverty means and how it affects so many people in different ways, and that just because you have enough to eat doesn't mean you're not poor,
Right.
in certain aspects.
Right.
And I think too that she talked a lot about the government programs and things, and how they actually, probably qualified for some things, but they were too proud maybe, or, they didn't want to accept
Right.
the charity. They felt it was charity. They were made to feel that people are made to feel that they're less if they,
Right.
have to accept something from a program. And I remember when I won't go into that long story, but when I was first married and I was in college, and my husband was in an accident, and a serious accident. And when he was released from the hospital, he was either going to have to go to like some place that could take care of him. It was summer and I was working at the plastics factory.
Right.
And so I had to quit like the last month of the summer to take care of him so that he would be able to get back on his feet again. And so we got food stamps for a short period of time. And I just remember, back then it was actual stamps that you had to count out.
Right.
It wasn't like a card or anything that you just swiped. And just the feeling, like I had to feel like I had to tell every cashier when I checked out at the grocery store what my situation was. Oh, my husband was at the accident.
Right.
Because I had to justify to them, why I was using food stamps, and that's not the way it should be. And I'm so glad now that it's run differently, but still, I'm sure there's, a lot of issues, and, people actually feeling like they can get the help they need, even if it's for a short period of time, which is really what programs are meant to do. So.
Right. No, and I definitely agree. We need to break that stereotype of like, oh, well, you're on food stamps, so you're poor and you can't make a living for yourself, so you have to use the government. It's like, no, people are in need. Like in your situation, you had to help your husband. So you did what you could. You used government assistance so you could get back on your feet. And I agree. I think we really need to break that stereotype. Like, no, people are here to help. We want to help. There are programs out there for helping people, and we shouldn't make people feel less for it.
Right. Absolutely.
Definitely. Absolutely. All right, now go back to the chat. If anyone has any questions, please feel to type in anything. If you have any questions about the Big Read event that's going on, feel free to ask that. Any questions about the exhibit, feel free to ask that. Or if any questions for Beth. And while we're waiting on that, I did have another question for you, Beth, as well. I find your perspective is so interesting when you compare it to Sarah's, how you said that she would never live that life again. So if you could explain a little more about how you would live that life again if you were to go back to your childhood, you enjoyed it. So if you could talk a little bit more about, it's a matter of perspective and why, it wasn't that hard.
Well, I just wanted to bring up this. So at the end of the book, Sarah says in here, she says, people have asked me many times, how did you get out? If there was something to get out of, some place or class, in many ways I am still there and perhaps always will be. I am there by choice to some extent, appreciating its riches that shape me, the wildness of a childhood untended, freedom from expectation, a robust learned understanding of my own capabilities. And she actually lives in Kansas, and she talks in the book about how, after she became a professor, a college professor, that she was able to buy this house, this beautiful house, apparently, that had, the high beams, and it was quite impressive, and she did a lot of work to it. But that when people came in, people that were of means, and they would remark on beautiful home it was, that she felt compelled that she had to tell them what she paid for it, that she got it really cheap and this is what she paid for it. She was still, felt like she wasn't deserving of just saying, thank you, thank you.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting. And I think that, obviously I wouldn't be who I am without the experiences that I had. I really don't. I was in this Zoom meeting with this group from my church this past week, and one of the questions that they said was, we were going around and, well, do you have any regrets? And, when they came to me, I was like, I'm sure there's things I regret, but I feel like they were too small. It's not like I said, oh, I wish I'd never done that. I wouldn't go back, because they led to other things and greater understanding of myself and I think that most of the things that I would say, would be more selfish things that,
right.
well, if this hadn't happened, I might have had this. Well, I feel like everything my life, was there for a reason. And
Right.
I didn't always make the right choices at the right time, but
Right.
none of us do, right?
No, everybody makes mistakes. Everyone. Yeah.
So, and I could say that I wish maybe I had been been able to support myself with my art through my whole life. But the other things that I did enriched my art, and the experiences I had enriched my art. So I think all of those things come together to make your life.
Yeah. Oh, and I love that. That's a great piece. It's true. It is a matter of perspective, and everyone has a learning experience some way, and it's taking that learning experience and what you do with it. How you move forward with it. So thank you so much, Beth. Oh, it looks like we have a few questions coming in. So it said, well, someone said your paintings are beautiful. Thank you for sharing your experience with us, from Kelsey. And Lindy says the road that you have is just like a road that I grew up on. I love that picture. So as you said, it's so relatable. And I think that's even more encouragement for people to read this book, because it is relatable. It is something that it's a great experience. And it's really, really a joy to read.
And it's easy read. It's a quick read.
Yes, very easy read, definitely.
And if you like audiobooks, she reads the book herself, and I feel like, whenever the author reads it themselves, they put their own inflection where it's meant to go, and they know what they want to say, and kind of add things in sometimes too.
Right. It's even better.
Yeah,
definitely. All right. So I don't think we'll be getting any questions tonight, which is totally fine. I want to thank everyone so much for joining us this evening and premiering and launching this exhibit. We have, again, some events planned. We have them posted on our website. And I also wanted to mention, we will be hosting a fundraiser. Our artists for this exhibit have chosen charities for us to kind of help out and promote. So we will be giving more details on that, so we can do our part to help people out in this difficult time, people who are impoverished. And we will be posting more details about that as well. And these charities are also supported by the author, Sarah Smarsh. So I want to thank everyone again for joining us. I wanted to make a quick note. I know Jen Hazel's students are joining us tonight, and she will be giving some extra credit. So if you could just hang on a little bit longer, we want to make sure that you do get your proof of being here and attending. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we will be doing more events soon. So take care and have a great day.